In the vast reaches of space, far beyond the edge of known civilization, the Galactic Empire had long since expanded its influence across countless worlds. Massive fleets of ships, brimming with advanced technology, had swept through the stars, conquering planets and forcing civilizations to bend to their will. Their reign had been unchallenged for centuries. That was, until they found Earth. Captain Velrun was a young officer aboard the Empire's flagship, the Argus. His ambition burned brightly within him, and he had always dreamed of being part of something that would make him famous. This assignment was his chance to prove his worth. The Empire had sent him to investigate an anomaly on the farthest edge of their territory. It was a simple mission at first: locate a new world that might be ripe for conquest. But as they approached, something felt off. Velrun stared at the data flickering on the console in front of him. The planet's coordinates were correct, and the scans indicated an almost perfect match for life-supporting conditions. Yet, something in the back of his mind whispered that this was not a typical discovery. The planet was giving off strange, unexpected electromagnetic signals. These signals weren't anything like the usual communications or emissions they encountered. They were different, unusual, mysterious. Captain, his navigator, Lieutenant Eris, said nervously, "There's something strange about this planet. The scans are. They're not normal." Velrun frowned, his hand brushing through his dark hair. "What do you mean, not normal?" "The atmosphere. It's unstable in places, and the readings we're getting from their satellites don't match anything we've seen before," Eris replied. "It's like they've somehow disrupted our scans on purpose." "Impossible," Velrun muttered, his fingers dancing over the console as he double-checked the information. His eyes narrowed as the ship's instruments confirmed the anomaly. The electromagnetic emissions seemed to be coming from the surface of the planet itself, almost as if someone was deliberately broadcasting a message. "Prepare to initiate communication with the planet. Let's see who we're dealing with," Velrun ordered. The ship's communication systems were activated, and a broadcast signal was sent to Earth. It was a standard Imperial message, a declaration of dominance, demanding the planet's immediate submission. Velrun watched intently, expecting a quick response. After all, they had conquered countless worlds. This one would be no different. But as the message sent, something unexpected happened. A burst of static crackled through the communication channels, followed by a voice, a human voice. But it wasn't a voice filled with fear, as Velrun had expected. It wasn't begging for mercy. No, it was calm, confident, almost daring. "This is Earth," the voice said, its tone firm. "This is your only warning. Leave orbit immediately." Velrun's eyes widened in disbelief. His finger hovered over the console as he processed what he had just heard. The voice had come from Earth itself. The humans, as the Empire had always assumed, were not technologically advanced enough to make such a bold statement. And yet there it was. A challenge. "Did you hear that?" Velrun asked, turning to his crew. That was a warning. From a primitive world. Lieutenant Eris swallowed nervously. "Captain, this can't be right. A planet that sends us a warning. They must be making a mistake." Velrun didn't share his doubt. Instead, his heart raced with excitement. This was not just another simple world to conquer. This was something new, something different. And he would be the one to show the Empire what Earth was really made of. "Prepare to engage," he said with a sly grin. "Let's see what they're really capable of." The Empire's fleet, led by the Argus, moved into position above Earth. They were not here to negotiate. They were here to show the humans their place. Earth would bow before the might of the Empire, just like every other world that had come before it. But as they moved into position, Velrun couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was wrong. The readings on his console flickered again, the strange electromagnetic disturbances growing stronger. Earth had sent them a warning, and Velrun could only wonder, was this truly a primitive planet? Or was there something far more dangerous lying beneath the surface? His thoughts were interrupted as the fleet prepared for their next move. The Empire would not be denied. And as far as Velrun was concerned, Earth's warning was just a challenge. Challenge he would be more than happy to accept. Captain Velrun stood at the front of the bridge, staring at the massive holographic display that showed Earth below. The planet was blue and green, swirling with life and beauty, seemingly unprepared for what was about to happen. His fleet hovered in the void above, its ships glowing with the cold light of powerful weapons, ready for action. But the message Earth had sent, the warning, lingered in his mind. How could a primitive planet speak so confidently? "Captain, we are in position," Lieutenant Eris announced from his console, his voice calm. But there was a hint of unease. "Awaiting your orders." Velrun's fingers drummed on the edge of his command chair as he considered the situation. Everything about Earth didn't add up. From the strange electromagnetic emissions to the defiant message, this was not what he had expected. Still, he refused to show any hesitation. He had the power of the Galactic Empire at his back. There was no way a single planet could stand in their way. "Send our message," Velrun ordered. The communications officer, a tall alien with violet skin, activated the broadcast system. The fleet's message was clear and direct. "This is the Galactic Empire. You are required to surrender immediately. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your planet." The message was broadcast in every known language, expecting fear, panic, or at least confusion. Velrun's lips curled into a satisfied smile. Surely the humans would see their position, small, vulnerable, and insignificant against the might of the Empire. But as the message sent, something strange happened again. The burst of static interrupted the frequency, followed by that same calm, defiant voice. "We heard your threat," it said, "but we have made ourselves clear. Leave orbit now, or you will regret it." Velrun clenched his jaw. This was no longer a simple request. This was an invitation to battle, a challenge. The audacity of this world, this seemingly insignificant planet, was becoming harder and harder to ignore. "Who are these humans?" Velrun muttered, barely audible, his mind racing with thoughts of what they might be hiding. "No planet we've ever encountered has acted this way." His first officer, Lieutenant Varen, looked at the readings on his console. "Captain, the humans' technology is primitive compared to ours, but their communication systems, they're advanced in ways we didn't expect. These signals, they've been disrupting our scans, blocking our analysis of their planet." Velrun turned sharply to face him. "What do you mean? Why can't we scan them properly?" Varen hesitated, tapping furiously at his controls. "It's like they've learned how to manipulate energy, Captain, not just on their planet's surface, but in space itself. We can't get a clear reading, like something's interfering with our instruments. It's as if they're blocking us intentionally." The idea of being blocked by a primitive species was unacceptable. Velrun's hand tightened around the armrest of his chair. "Prepare a full scan. We will not be dismissed so easily." As his officers scrambled to carry out his orders, the silence on the bridge became palpable. Velrun couldn't help but feel the weight of the unknown pressing on him. The humans didn't act like the other species they had encountered. There was no panic in their voices, no fear of destruction. Instead, they stood firm, unshaken by the power of the Galactic Empire. "Captain." Lieutenant Eris spoke up again, his voice more hesitant this time. "We're picking up something on the surface. It's moving." Velrun's eyes narrowed. "What is it? Is it military?" Eris shook his head. "I'm not sure. It looks like some kind of energy pattern. Something traveling across the surface at incredible speed. It's not normal. And there's more. Our communication systems are beginning to glitch. I think they're responding to us, but we can't get a clear line." Velrun's heart raced. Whatever the humans were doing, it was beyond their understanding. The Empire had never met a species that could disrupt their advanced systems. And now, Earth was proving to be something entirely different. "Send another warning," Velrun ordered, his voice sharp. "Tell them that if they continue to interfere, We will take action." But before the words left his mouth, the bridge lights flickered, and a loud hum filled the air. The fleet's sensors went haywire. Eris's face drained of color. "Captain, we're being locked onto. Their energy patterns. They're forming a pulse." Before he could finish, the ship's systems began to overload. A massive wave of energy hit the fleet, causing their shields to flicker and their systems to glitch. The Argus shook violently, sending crew members stumbling to the floor. "What's happening?" Velrun shouted, gripping his seat. We don't know. The energy's coming from the surface." Eris shouted back, panic creeping into his voice. Velrun's fists clenched. This was no longer a simple mission. The humans weren't just sending messages. They were showing their power. The fleet began to drift out of position, unable to control their movements as the strange energy continued to disrupt their systems. And with that, the warning was clear. Earth wasn't going to surrender. The Empire was in their sights, and they were not backing down. The Argus trembled as another pulse of energy slammed into the fleet. Captain Velrun gripped the arms of his command chair, trying to keep his composure. The ship's systems were in chaos. Lights flickered, consoles blinked in and out of function, and alarms blared across the bridge. "Captain, our shields are weakening." Lieutenant Eris shouted, his voice tight with worry. "We can't get a stable reading. Something's blocking our systems." Velrun's eyes narrowed as he stared at the screens. The pulse of energy had come from Earth's surface again, but it was unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered. It wasn't just a disruption. It was as if the planet itself was pushing back against them. "Return fire," Velrun ordered, his voice firm, though there was an edge of frustration. "Target the source of the energy." His weapons officer, a stern-faced alien, looked hesitant. "Sir, our weapons systems are offline. The interference is preventing us from targeting anything. We're blind." Velrun slammed his fist on the console. How could they have this kind of power? They are supposed to be primitive. This doesn't make sense. As his officers scrambled to try and fix the systems, Velrun couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play here. The humans, this insignificant backwater planet, were fighting back in ways he couldn't understand. It was as if they knew exactly what to do to counter the Empire's might. On the planet's surface, Earth had already begun to show its strength in unexpected ways. Across every major continent, humans were responding. The Empire's fleet wasn't just facing a primitive species. They were facing a world united, ready to defend itself with every resource at its disposal. In the control rooms of Earth's governments, military leaders watched the situation unfold with a calm that was anything but normal. Commander Elise Carter, a seasoned officer in the Earth Defense Forces, stood in front of a massive screen, monitoring the fleet hovering above. "Their systems are failing," she said, her voice steady. "They're disoriented. Whatever they're trying to do, they can't maintain control." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Garcia, looked at her in awe. "How are they doing this? We don't even have the kind of technology they do." Elise nodded, her expression thoughtful. "They think we're primitive, but they don't know how far we've come." For years, Earth had been quietly developing technology that exceeded even the most advanced alien systems, and they had done it without anyone noticing. They had built their defenses, not just with weapons, but with knowledge. Knowledge they'd gathered from long years of research, testing, and understanding. The human mind, with its creativity and persistence, had found ways to manipulate energy in ways that no other species had imagined. Carter's voice was low but firm. "Activate the grid." On the other side of the world, hidden from the eyes of the Empire, the Earth Defense Forces initiated a series of electromagnetic pulses designed to sync with the natural frequencies of the fleet's equipment. The plan had been in place for years, a secret defense against any threat, and now it was being put to the test. Back aboard the Argus, Velrun's frustration grew as another energy wave surged from the planet below. His hands flew across the controls, trying to regain control, but the ship's systems were no longer responding. "Captain, we've lost complete communication with the fleet," Varen reported. "We can't reach any of the other ships. It's like we've been completely cut off." Varen felt a deep sense of disbelief. The Empire had never faced anything like this. Their greatest weapon, technology, was now useless. The fleet was helpless, disoriented, and unable to act. And it wasn't because of any failure on their part. It was because Earth, this small, backward planet, had somehow turned their own strength against them. "We can't just sit here and let them control the situation," Varen growled. "Send a team to the surface. We need answers. Now." But even as he spoke, a new message flashed on the communication screen. This one was different. It wasn't just a warning. It was a declaration. "We've warned you. Leave Earth's orbit. This is your last chance." The message was clear, simple, and undeniably powerful. Earth wasn't just defending itself. It was making it known that it would not be intimidated. The humans had learned to wield power that was beyond the Empire's understanding. And now, they were turning it on the invaders. "Captain," Eris hesitated, watching the growing readings. "They've done it again. Their technology. It's like they've synced with our entire fleet. We can't move." Varen felt a cold sweat trickle down his spine. He had never imagined this. The Empire had always been in control, and every civilization that had dared to oppose them had fallen. Yet here, now, Earth stood firm and unyielding. The Empire's vast fleet, with all its might, was being reduced to nothing. "This isn't possible," Varen whispered under his breath. "How can a planet this insignificant do this to us?" The Argus was no longer in control. The fleet's systems had been overwhelmed, their weapons useless, their communications severed. Earth had not just fought back. It had turned the tables, forcing the mighty Empire to face a power unlike anything they had ever encountered. Captain Varen paced back and forth on the bridge of the Argus, his mind racing with frustration and confusion. The battle they had expected to be swift and decisive was slipping away, and he could feel his control over the situation dwindling by the minute. Earth, a planet once dismissed as insignificant, had turned into a powerful adversary. The Empire's might had been reduced to nothing in the face of their strange, mysterious energy. "Captain, we've lost contact with all the ships in the fleet," Lieutenant Eris reported again, his voice grim. "It's as if they've been completely isolated. We're the only ships still in range." Varen stopped in his tracks. "What do you mean, isolated?" "I mean we can't communicate with them, Captain. The energy interference has blocked every frequency. We're completely cut off," Eris explained. "And our systems, they're failing one by one." Varen clenched his fists. His pride was on the line. The Empire had conquered countless worlds, but Earth was proving to be a different kind of challenge. They hadn't even fired a shot yet their planet was bringing the mighty Empire to its knees. "Prepare to land," Varen ordered, though his voice lacked the usual confidence. He couldn't allow this to continue. He needed answers, and the only way to get them was to go to the source, Earth. As the Argus descended towards the surface of Earth, the crew worked in silence, each person trying to process the strange events unfolding. The usual hum of activity on the bridge was replaced by an eerie stillness, broken only by the occasional warning beep from the failing systems. The ship touched down in a remote location, far from any major city. Varen led a small group of officers through the hatch, stepping onto the planet's surface. The air was thick with tension, and the silence of the area made it feel as if they were the only ones left on Earth. "This is it," Varen said, his voice a low whisper. "We find out who's behind this, and we deal with them." The team moved forward cautiously, their footsteps making soft echoes in the quiet landscape. As they walked, the environment began to change, becoming increasingly strange. The air seemed to hum with energy, and the ground beneath their boots vibrated lightly. It was as if the planet itself was alive, reacting to their presence. Soon, They arrive at a large, flat structure hidden deep in the wilderness, surrounded by trees and thick foliage. Velrun could sense the power emanating from it, and the hair on the back of his neck stood up. "This is it," he said again, this time with a hint of awe in his voice. The group entered the structure. Inside, they found rows of advanced technology, but it was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Screens glowed with strange symbols, and machines hummed with unfamiliar energy. There were no signs of life, but the equipment suggested that someone had been here recently, someone who knew how to harness the same energy that had disrupted their fleet. "Sir," Eris said, approaching one of the machines, "I think I've found something." Velrun walked over to see what had caught his officer's attention. On the screen in front of them was a series of complex patterns, shifting and moving in ways that defied explanation. "It's like they're manipulating energy on a quantum level," Eris continued. "These patterns, they're disrupting our systems, using some kind of resonance frequency. Whoever built this knows exactly what they're doing." Velrun stared at the screen, his mind working to understand what he was seeing. Whoever these humans were, they were far more advanced than they had let on. Their power was not just in brute force, it was in their understanding of energy itself, their ability to tap into the very fabric of the universe. "We need to find who's behind this," Velrun muttered. Now, as they continued to explore the strange facility, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber. Inside, they found a single figure standing in the center, surrounded by glowing energy. The figure was humanoid, but its features were unlike anything Velrun had seen before. It was a human, but its eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and its body seemed to pulse with energy, almost as if it were made of light itself. "Who are you?" Velrun demanded, his voice filled with a mix of awe and anger. The figure turned slowly, its eyes locking onto Velrun. There was a calmness in its gaze, a certainty that Velrun couldn't comprehend. "We are the Guardians of Earth," the figure said, its voice echoing in the chamber. "You have been warned, Captain. Earth does not bow to invaders." Velrun took a step back, his mind racing. Guardians? What did that mean? How could a human, how could Earth, have developed this kind of power? "You think you can stop the Galactic Empire with this?" Velrun spat, gesturing to the strange energy surrounding the figure. The Guardian simply smiled, a serene expression on its face. "The Empire has underestimated us, Captain. You were warned. Now you must leave, or face the consequences." Velrun's heart sank. Earth had prepared for this, planned for it. They hadn't just been waiting. They had been ready for the Empire's arrival all along. And now, it was clear, Earth wasn't just defending itself. It was sending a message, one that the Empire had failed to hear. "Leave," the Guardian repeated, its voice now carrying an unspoken promise of destruction. Velrun looked around at his crew, the reality of their situation sinking in. The Empire had come to Earth expecting a quick victory, but what they found instead was a planet that had been preparing for this moment for centuries. And now, it seemed there was no way out. Captain Velrun stood frozen, his heart racing. The Guardian's calm words echoed in his mind. He had always believed the Empire's strength was unmatched, that no force in the galaxy could challenge their might. But here, before him, Earth was proving him wrong. "Captain," Lieutenant Eris called out, his voice breaking through Velrun's thoughts. "What do we do now?" Velrun took a deep breath and turned back to the Guardian. "You think this power of yours can stop the Empire?" His voice was a mix of disbelief and rising anger. "Do you have any idea what we are capable of?" The Guardian didn't flinch. "We know exactly what you're capable of, Captain. But we also know that you're not invincible. You've underestimated Earth, and now you'll pay the price." The atmosphere in the room felt charged with energy, as though the very air was heavy with the promise of what was to come. Velrun's mind raced as he considered his options. His fleet was disabled, his communications cut off, and now he stood face to face with an enemy who had powers beyond his understanding. The silence stretched for a long moment before Velrin spoke again, his voice more measured. "We could still fight. We could destroy your planet, erase everything here." The Guardian shook its head slowly. "You misunderstand, Captain. We don't need to fight. We've already won." Velron's brow furrowed. "Won?" He took a step forward. "How?" The Guardian raised its hand, and the entire chamber seemed to respond. The energy around them pulsed with a steady rhythm, and Velrin felt the ground beneath his feet hum with power. The air thickened, and for a brief moment, it felt as though the entire planet was holding its breath. "The energy you've been fighting against," the Guardian continued, "it's not just a weapon. It's part of Earth. It is us. Every living thing on this planet contributes to it, and it's been building for centuries." Velrin shook his head in confusion. "This doesn't make sense. How could a planet, a species like you?" His voice trailed off as he struggled to understand. "Humanity has always been underestimated," the Guardian said softly. "You've looked down on us for so long, thinking we were too small, too weak. But we have something that you will never understand. We have unity, and we have the will to protect our world." Velrin looked around the chamber, his mind still reeling from the Guardian's words. What he was hearing seemed impossible, yet he couldn't deny the truth of it. The power surrounding them wasn't just technology. It was something deeper, something fundamental to Earth itself. Suddenly, Velron's communicator beeped, pulling him back to the present. He quickly activated it, his eyes narrowing as the voice of his officer came through. "Captain, we're receiving a signal from the fleet. It's a message from the Empire's command." Velron's heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Was help finally on the way? He listened intently as the voice on the other end spoke. "Captain Velrin, we have received confirmation from the Empire's Central Command. We are to retreat immediately. All fleets are to abandon Earth's orbit. This is no longer a fight we can win." Velrin stood in stunned silence. The order to retreat. The Empire was giving up. It didn't make sense. He had never imagined that the mighty Empire would surrender so easily. The fact that they were retreating meant only one thing. Earth's power was real, and it was overwhelming. The Guardian's calm voice broke through the shock in Velron's mind. "It's not surrender, Captain. It's a warning. You've been given a choice. Leave now, or face the consequences of continuing to fight." Velron's mind raced as he processed the message. The retreat was not just a tactical move. It was the Empire acknowledging defeat. For the first time in his life, Velrin felt the weight of true uncertainty. He had always believed that the Empire's power could crush any challenge. But now, he was faced with the truth. Earth had changed everything. This isn't over," Velrin said quietly, almost to himself. "The Empire doesn't give up." The Guardian stepped forward, its eyes glowing softly. "This is not the Empire's battle to win, Captain. It is Earth's, and it will not be decided by force, but by choice." For a long moment, Velrin didn't speak. He stood there, torn between his duty to the Empire and the undeniable truth in front of him. The Empire had underestimated Earth, and now it was paying the price. But more than that, Velrin realized that Earth had something the Empire could never take, something that no weapon could destroy. The will to protect, the strength that came from unity. "We will leave," Velrin finally said, his voice heavy with reluctance. "But know this, Guardian, the Empire does not forget. We will be back." The Guardian gave a small, serene smile. "When you return, Captain, Earth will still be here. And so will we." With that, Velrin turned away, signaling his crew to leave the chamber. The battle was over, but the war was far from it. As they made their way back to the ship, Velrin couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something much larger. Captain Velrin stood on the bridge of the Argus, staring out at the vast expanse of space. His thoughts were a whirlwind, his mind still processing the events that had unfolded on Earth. The Empire, once certain of its power, had retreated in the face of humanity's strength. leaving Velrin with a sense of both defeat and confusion. "Captain," Lieutenant Eris said, his voice cutting through the silence. "The fleet is in full retreat. The order to return to Empire-controlled space has been received." "But—" Velrin turned sharply, sensing the unease in Eris's voice. "But what?" Eris hesitated for a moment before continuing. "There's something else. We've been receiving strange signals from Earth. They're not human signals. They're different. Something is still out there, Captain." Velron's brow furrowed. "Different? How?" "They're coming from all over Earth's surface. We can't pinpoint the source, but we've been able to track their frequency. It's unlike anything we've encountered. The energy signature is alien." The word hit Velrin like a punch to the gut. Alien. He had thought the Guardian on Earth was the extent of Earth's strange power, but now it seemed that there was more to the planet than he could have ever imagined. "Show me the data," Velrin ordered. Eris worked quickly, bringing up the signals on the main display. The screen flickered to life, showing a series of complex wave patterns, shifting and changing with alarming speed. The energy readings were off the charts, far beyond anything Velrin had seen in his years of service. "Is it a trap?" Velrin asked, his voice low. Eris shook his head. "I don't think so, Captain. This doesn't look like an attack. It's more like a message." "A message from whom?" Velrin asked, his patience wearing thin. Who else could possibly be involved? Eris swallowed, clearly troubled. "I don't know, Captain, but the patterns are coming from different parts of Earth. It's as if they're being sent by multiple sources, all at once." Velrin turned back to the screen, his mind racing. He had underestimated Earth once, and it seemed that the planet had more secrets than he had ever imagined. The Empire had been defeated for now, but what if this wasn't the end? What if the real threat was still waiting for them? "Keep tracking the signals," Velrin said finally. "We need to know who's sending them." As the crew continued their work, Velron's thoughts drifted back to the Guardian's words. Earth had warned them. Earth had shown them its power. But there was something more to this planet, something ancient and unknown, that Velrin couldn't quite understand. Hours passed as they monitored the strange signals. The patterns continued to shift and evolve, becoming more intricate with each passing minute. The crew worked tirelessly, trying to make sense of the data, but it was clear that they were no closer to an answer. Then, without warning, the signals stopped. "Captain," Eris shouted. "The signals. They've gone silent." Velron's heart skipped a beat. "What does that mean?" "We don't know, Captain," Eris replied. "But it's not normal. The energy signatures are still there, but they're dormant now. It's like someone turned them off." The silence on the bridge was deafening. Something wasn't right. Velrin could feel it in the pit of his stomach. They had been so focused on Earth's immediate defense, so sure that the battle was over, that they hadn't considered the possibility of something much larger at play. "This isn't over," Velrin said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "There's something on Earth that we don't understand yet, and whatever it is, it's not finished with us." As the crew continued to analyze the situation, Velron's mind raced. If Earth had been able to defend itself once, what else could they be hiding? What other secrets did this planet hold? He had already seen enough to know that Earth was not as weak as the Empire had believed, but now he was beginning to wonder if humanity had something far greater waiting in the shadows. "Captain," Eris said after a long pause, "I think we need to return to Earth." Velrin looked at his officer, surprised. "What are you talking about? We've already been told to retreat." "I know, sir," Eris replied, his voice calm but insistent. "But if there's something else out there, something even more powerful than what we've seen, we need to find out what it is before the Empire gets any more involved. Earth might be the key." Velrin considered Eris's words carefully. He knew that going back to Earth meant breaking the Empire's orders, risking everything. But there was no denying the truth of what Eris was saying. Earth had shown them a power they couldn't ignore. And if there was more to uncover, they needed to act quickly. Set a course back to Earth, Velrun finally ordered. But we approach with caution. Whatever this is, we can't take any chances. As the Argus turned back toward Earth, Velrun couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something far beyond their understanding. The retreat had been the Empire's decision. But now, Velrun was making his own. He wasn't just going to leave Earth's secrets behind. He was going to uncover them, no matter what it took. The Argus sailed back toward Earth in silence, the crew working tirelessly to track the mysterious signals. Captain Velrun stood at the helm, staring at the swirling stars outside the viewports, his mind troubled. The retreat had been the Empire's decision. But now, he knew that the true battle was just beginning. Something was out there, something that Earth had hidden from the rest of the galaxy for centuries. "Captain, we're approaching Earth's orbit," Lieutenant Eris announced, his voice breaking through Velrun's thoughts. Velrun nodded but didn't respond immediately. His eyes were locked on the planet below, knowing that whatever was waiting for them would be unlike anything they had ever encountered. The strange energy patterns from Earth's surface still lingered in the back of his mind. The signals had stopped abruptly, but they had left an impression, an unsettling feeling that something had been set in motion, something that had only just begun. "Captain," Eris spoke again, a hint of urgency in his voice. "We've picked up more signals. They're coming from the same locations as before. The energy signature is even stronger now." Velrun turned sharply, his curiosity piqued. "Stronger?" Eris nodded. "Yes, Captain. It's as if whatever is causing this is waking up. We've never seen anything like it." "Prepare a shuttle," Velrun ordered. "I'm going down to the surface." He had no idea what he was walking into, but something in his gut told him that the answers lay on Earth. The Empire had been wrong to underestimate this planet, and now it was his turn to find out why. Hours later, Velrun stood at the entrance of a hidden facility deep beneath Earth's surface. The shuttle had landed in a remote area, far from any major cities, where the signals had been coming from. The landscape around him was barren, the ground cracked and dry, but there was an eerie feeling in the air, an unnatural stillness. "Captain, we're ready," Eris said as he stepped out of the shuttle, his voice filled with caution. "This place gives me a bad feeling." Velrun didn't respond. His mind was focused on the task at hand. He could feel the strange energy growing stronger as they made their way deeper into the facility. The walls were covered in ancient symbols and markings, some of them glowing faintly as if reacting to their presence. It was clear that whoever had built this place had been here long before humanity had arrived on Earth. They moved silently through the corridors, the sound of their footsteps echoing off the walls. The further they went, the more the air seemed to hum with energy, until they reached a massive chamber at the center of the facility. In the center of the room stood an enormous, glowing object, something Velrun had never seen before. It pulsed with a soft light, as if alive, and its surface was covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change. It was unlike any technology Velrun had ever encountered. "This is it," Velrun whispered. "This is what's been sending the signals." As they approached the object, Velrun could feel the energy in the room grow stronger, almost overwhelming. It was clear now that this was no ordinary technology. This was something ancient, something that had been hidden for centuries. "Captain, be careful," Eris warned. "We don't know what this thing is." But Velrun didn't listen. He reached out and touched the object, feeling the surge of power coursed through him. For a moment, everything around him went dark, and he saw flashes of images, visions of distant places, otherworldly beings, and events from Earth's ancient past. The visions were so vivid, so real, that Velrun stumbled back, his heart racing. He had seen the truth. This object was not just a machine. It was a gateway, an ancient relic that had the power to connect Earth to other worlds. Before he could speak, a voice echoed through the chamber, its tone calm but filled with power. "You have discovered our secret, Captain." Velrun spun around, his eyes widening as the Guardian appeared before him. It was not the same as the one he had seen on Earth. This version of the Guardian seemed older, more powerful, its presence radiating with energy. "The signals you've been receiving," the Guardian continued, "are the awakening of the ancient network we have hidden beneath Earth. For centuries, humanity has been unaware of its existence. But now, it is time for Earth to take its rightful place among the stars." Velron's mind raced. "What do you mean? Are you saying Earth has the power to leave this planet, to join the rest of the galaxy?" The Guardian nodded. "Yes, but not in the way the Empire believes. Earth has always been more than just a planet. It is a living, breathing entity, connected to the stars in ways no one understands. And now, it is ready to fulfill its destiny." Velron stood frozen, his mind struggling to comprehend the enormity of what the Guardian had just revealed. Earth was not just a planet. It was something much more. It had been hiding its true power, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. "This is just the beginning," the Guardian said, its voice growing softer. "Earth will no longer be overlooked. The galaxy will know its true strength." As Velron looked at the glowing object before him, he realized that the war was not over. It was only beginning. Earth had been the underdog for far too long. But now, with the ancient power awakened, it was ready to show the universe what it was truly capable of. And Velron, he had just become a witness to a new chapter in the galaxy's history.